Good morning. And welcome to the December 17th, 2025 informal meeting of the Savannah-Chatham County Board of Education. This is an informal meeting. This is an information-only meeting. We do not take any votes during this meeting. And welcome. I see quite a few people here today. I'd love to see more. So let's get started. Okay, all right. We will start with our board member update, and we have an update from Ms. Grabowski.
Good morning. Happy holidays to all. And wanted to give a brief update to the board on our legislative meeting that we had at Savannah Technical College with our delegation. President Moss, Dr. Watts, and I all attended to revisit our legislative priorities and had a good meeting. Two updates I wanted to provide in particular. Mrs. Hall's prediction, I anticipate, will probably be coming true. We got the heads up that no cell phones in high school is likely to be coming down the pike. And there was an article in the Atlanta Journal about that about a month ago. So we'll see what happens, but just a heads up that may very well be coming. And the second update is, as we continue encouraging our state leaders to require our students to start school at age 5 as opposed to age 6, as we know there was legislation introduced last year. We had sent some follow-up information after our meeting, and then I got a call from Senator Hickman with good news that he is going to be continuing to carry that forward along with Senator Mallow in a very bipartisan effort to reduce the starting school age to age 5. So hopefully we can look forward to that positive legislation passing in this next session.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your work with the legislation. All right. Next, we will have an update on performance of federally identified schools.
Good morning. So I am pleased to present an update on the performance of our federally identified schools as required by the Georgia Department of Education. And this is designed to provide local boards of education with updates on those schools within the district, including the district plan of support actions and results of implementation, school improvement actions and results, school data, successes, sustainability, and next steps. In order to put these schools in context, it's important to understand the federal identification criteria and the staged process that's utilized by Godot for each of the 3 designations. We'll start first with CSI identification and exit. So with regard to this particular process, you'll see that it's split with elementary middle schools versus high schools. So we're talking about the lowest performing 5% of Title I schools that are identified for CSI lowest performing support utilizing the staged approach. Title I schools that meet identification criteria for each stage or are missing data for that stage do progress to the next stage until the schools are identified for CSI support. At any point, if they do not enter or meet the criteria for the stage, they are not identified for CSI support. So for the elementary middle, we start with all Title I schools, and in stage 1, we're looking at content mastery exclusively, specifically the lowest 20% of Title I schools performance in content mastery. For those that meet that criteria, they will progress to stage 2. Here we're looking at progress and closing gap scores. So the lowest 25% of Title I schools in progress or lowest 10% of Title I schools in closing gaps. So if they meet either one of those, they qualify to move forward to stage 3. Stage 3 is based on readiness, and here we're looking for 5% of Title I schools with the lowest readiness score. So that is the final stage. If they meet that final criteria, those schools are identified for CSI support. Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to do this.
Yes, sir.
Could we state what all of these acronyms mean when you're reporting? Because the general public doesn't know what CSI, they think it's something off television. So,
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we use the template from Godot, but you're absolutely correct. So comprehensive support and improvement is what CSI, and normally we would have that designation, and we can update this report
please, thank
and
you,
publicize
thank
it
you.
so it has
Yeah,
that full
yeah.
designation. We just
I
use the
appreciate it.
template provided.
Thank you.
Yes. You're very welcome. So for exit criteria, one thing I want to note about the comprehensive support and improvement, it is identified on a 3-year cycle, meaning that once the school receives that designation, they stay so designated for 3 years. And the exit criteria at that culmination of that 3-year mark, so we won't find out until year 4, is whether they no longer meet the entrance criteria at any of these stages, and they demonstrate an improvement in content mastery, ELA achievement, mathematics achievement, or science achievement from the year of identification to the current year. So what matters is the year in which they were identified and what their performance is at that end point of the 3-year cycle. Yes.
Thank you. On the improvement, is it any improvement, or is there like some level or threshold of improvement?
It's any improvement as stated. There's no established threshold. So as long as it's 0.1 above, we're good. With any other questions? So same type of process for high schools. Of course, we're looking at all Title I schools. However, please note the slight differences in the percentages for inclusion at each of the stages. So for high schools at stage 1, we're looking at the bottom 25% of those performing in content mastery. Stage 2, we're looking for the lowest 40% of Title I schools in progress, or the lowest 10% of Title I schools in closing gaps. As they progress to stage 3, and this is why high school gets its own delineation of stages, we're looking at graduation rates. So for stage 3, it's the lowest 50% of Title I schools in graduation rate. And the last stage is going to be readiness, very similar to the other that we described. And here we're looking for that same target number of bottom 5% Title I school with lowest readiness score. For CSI low graduation rate, all high schools are, with regard to that grad rate, stage 3, we're talking about the 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate. And all of those that fall below 67% are automatically identified for CSI support. So please take a note of that. Any questions before moving to the next one?
Anyone?
So as we progress, TSI stands for Targeted Support and Improvement. So this identification process is also a staged approach. All schools are now considered. So we're not talking about Title I schools only, but all schools, and we're looking specifically at school-level student groups, what previously we've termed subgroups. So all schools with one or more consistently underperforming student group will be identified for TSI support utilizing a staged approach. School-level student groups that meet the identification criteria for each stage or are missing data for that stage will progress to the next stage until they're identified for TSI support. Schools that do not have any student group or groups meeting that criteria will not be identified for TSI support.
What are the student groups?
So here, we're talking about English learners,
Okay.
students with disability,
Okay.
and our, why am I blanking on that? Sorry. Which is the third group?
The student groups will be students with disabilities,
Yes, yes.
all group, economically disadvantaged,
Economically
black,
disadvantaged.
white,
Yeah. So we're-
and English language learners.
Yeah. So we're looking at, so it was economically disadvantaged.
Ms. Grabowski?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I missed this. Is the stage considered, is each stage a school year?
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay.
This is the process of identification. So the identification,
Oh, if
for
they
example,
missed-
would.
Okay, so it's with, okay, sorry.
Yes.
I
So
just
it would
wanted-
be the performance, let's say in school year 2023,
Right.
the last time the identification occurred for
Mm-hmm.
CSI, for example. And then we're looking at
20%
meeting
then, yeah.
criteria based on performance.
yeah.
Yes, within
Sorry.
each of those components.
I need coffee.
So really, we're looking at those three main student groups that we're talking about. So just to reiterate, English learners, students with disability, and economically disadvantaged. Those are the ones that we're talking about. So at stage one for content mastery, we're talking about student groups performing within the lowest 20% of schools in content mastery. If they meet that criteria, they move to stage two. Once again, we're looking at progress and closing gaps. Student groups performing within the lowest 25% of schools in progress, or student groups performing within the lowest 10% of schools in closing gaps. And then stage three, we're talking about student groups performing within the target number, 5% of all school, that bottom 5% of performance in readiness. But remember, once again, it's all schools for that particular student group. So with regard to student groups, we also have the typical race ethnicity breakdown as well. So we're
Got a
looking at
question
that
here.
performance.
Ms.
Just
Campbell?
so I understand a little bit better, when we have it staged for CSI, TSI.
Correct.
The staging, so I get how they're all linked together, and I get the thresholds that we have here,
Yes.
20%, 25. But, so when you're originally identified, do they say, okay, you're a stage 3 TSI designated school, or is it?
No.
Okay.
You have to meet the criteria, so as long as you've met all three.
All
you-
three?
You have
Okay.
to meet each of the stages, so if you don't meet the criteria for stage two, you're no
You're not
longer
designated.
an option for designation.
Got you. Okay,
Yes, so
thank
at
you.
any point, they have to meet all the criteria, they have to be able to progress through all the stages before they are identified.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Ms. Hall?
This kind of has nothing to do with what you're saying, but everything to do with it. I've been reading about people who are bilingual or trilingual.
Yes.
And that their brains, knowing how to speak more than one language, does wonderful things for your brain. So, we have these kids, oh, our poor English learners, oh. Those children are learning to be bilingual. And at some point, when they master that, I see us being able to push them very hard. We probably have some really, really smart
Right.
kids.
Yes.
And so I don't want us to continue to look at our ESOL kids as, oh, we have to help them and they're deficient. They can be our stars. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind, that we people who just can speak English are really the deficient ones. So going forward, our programs need to do things that accelerate them as they master the language. Okay, that's all I wanted
Thank
to
you.
add.
Dr. Hoskins Brown? Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
So for high school, once again, it's a staged process, but we're going to add that additional stage for grad rate. So we start with content mastery. Once again, very similar to the CSI, we start with 25%, that lowest 25% performance in content mastery. As we progress to progress and closing gaps, we're looking at student groups performing within the lowest 40% of schools in progress, or student groups performing within the lowest 10% of schools in closing gaps. So keep in mind, these are all student groups and all schools. but they have to meet the criteria for each stage as we progress. So stage 3, graduation rate, student groups performing within the lowest 50% of schools in grad rate. And the last stage of inclusion would be that readiness performance, and that student group has to perform in the bottom 5% of all schools on readiness. One thing to note about TSI, it is an annually identified list. Therefore, schools may meet the exit criteria, no longer meeting any of the entrance criteria, year over year. Any questions on TSI? All right. Then we also have ATSI. ATSI stands for Additional Targeted Support and Improvement. It applies to all schools that already meet TSI criteria. And they are identified for ATSI, that additional targeted support, if they have one or more identified student groups whose component scores are at or below the highest component scores of the CSI lowest performing schools based on a stage identification approach. Yes, so I wanted to let that sink in a little bit with regard to what we're talking about here. So the student group has to have a component score at or below the highest component scores of the CSI lowest performing schools based on the stage identification approach. So here's what it looks like, elementary, middle, and then we'll see what it looks like for high schools. So we start with all TSI schools. Stage 1 content mastery performed at or above the highest content mastery score among the CSI lowest performing schools. So basically, we look at the identified CSI lowest performing schools, right? The ones who scored in the bottom 5% on content mastery, and we see what the highest score was obtained within that list. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's the threshold of entry for stage 1. As we progress to stage 2, we have progress and closing gaps. Here, they performed at or below the highest progress score among CSI lowest performing schools, or they performed at or below the highest closing gap score among CSI lowest performing schools. And the last stage, readiness, they have to perform at or below the highest readiness score among CSI lowest performing schools. ATSI, very similar to CSI, is identified on a 3-year cycle. Therefore, the exit criteria, either they don't meet entrance criteria or they're able to not meet one of the stages and thus they exit the identification process. And they also demonstrate improvement in content mastery, ELA achievement, mathematics achievement, or science achievement for all identified student groups from the year of identification to the current year. So a school may be identified based on multiple subgroups. So for example, we could have had the white student group and the English learners who met identification criteria. Both of them have to show improvement in order for the school to exit. Does that make sense to everybody? I just want to be very clear about that. High schools, all TSI schools, stage 1, similar to what we described above, content mastery performed at or below the highest content mastery score among CSI lowest performing schools. Stage 2, we look at progress and closing gaps. So once again, that performance is either at or below the highest progress score among CSI schools or the highest closing gap scores among CSI lowest performing schools. In stage 3, we take a look at grad rate. So we're looking at performing at or below the highest graduation rate score among CSI lowest performing schools. And last but not least, for high schools, we have readiness. And here they're performing at or below the highest readiness score among CSI lowest performing schools. What happens if one group improves and the other does not? They stay on the list and they go into another 3-year cycle. So ATSI to CSI, there is a transition there. Title I schools that have the same student groups identified for ATSI for 6 years. So they've gone through 2 cycles of 3 years where they have been unable to meet the exit criteria to fully exit the identification process without exiting that ATSI status after the 6th year will be identified for CSI support. That's an automatic. So if you stay with an ATSI designation for 2 cycles, 6 total years, you automatically become a CSI identified school. Any questions with regard to that?
Ms. Hall?
It's dawning on me that we could have children who their whole K-12 career are under these tents. And I just hope at some point we can find out that that is not the case. But I can think of some right now that the feeder schools go from one to the, and so they never really exit.
Howard Hall?
Yes, thank you. What are the sanctions for a CSI 2-year cycle?
3 years. So the CSI
Or 3
is
years.
3 years. So there are, once you're initially identified, there is no sanction per se. What you get are intensive support. So we'll talk about the kind of support that is offered to these schools, what that looks like day to day. We'll have our principals who have worked with the Georgia Department of Education and their school support team describe what that process looks like, both for CSI and TSI.
I guess I'm asking 6 years, because they identified every 3 years, so the second cycle is 3 years. So is there a sanction for the second cycle, and then maybe a third cycle of 9 years?
So once you stay on that designation, so CSI for 2 cycles, then you'd be a CSI Tier 4. And at that point, with regard to the Tier 4, it's more of an intensive support with the goal, of course, of exiting after that next 3-year cycle.
If I
Are
could
there any
just,
considerations, piggyback on what Ms. Hall said about schools that continue to be within that CSI cycle when you have a feeder school that is also identified as CSI? And then that feeder school pours into the middle school, which is CSI. So are you all considering any kind of support? Because it's a vicious cycle, and it could possibly feed into a high school.
That's a Dr. Barnes question. I would highlight our differentiated school support process that is underway as the main thing, but I'll let him elaborate.
Yeah, so part of identifying our differentiated support schools, we used these designations to help as one of the criterion to identify those schools. And so that's why we have identified specific interventions around, one, strong instructional leadership coaching, as well as teaching coaching, using high dosage tutoring for some of our schools. We know that the presentation that we made around differentiated support schools for the future, using this criteria has allowed us to identify those schools which develop those strategic plans. We feel confident that if we were to follow through with many of those strategies, that we will be able to exit some of these schools from either the ATSI, TSI, CSI list As we look at some of the progress that is happening right now in our differentiated support schools, we are seeing promising leading indicators, and we are very hopeful that that will yield an exit. But I do want to rewind back to Dr. Howard Hall's question around any potential consequences after the 3 years. So there are some potential consequences. And the state has not finalized exactly what they will be, but it could be one of 9 different things, okay? So it can be a range. It can go from continue our current interventions that we're doing in the district, as well as our partnership with the state. It could be removal of school personnel where the performance has been deemed to be related to. It also can be the implementation of a charter or a state school. Fourth, it can be a complete reconstitution of the school, and that's when you remove a percentage of the staff from the school and as well as the leadership. Operation of a school by a private nonprofit third party. A parent option to relocate their students to another school that does not fall in one of these designations. A complete restructuring where we remove all staff from that school and restaff it completely with new staff. Operation of a school by a successful school system, like we can lose the school out of our district. And there's an other category, like other interventions. So there is no specific thing that has been concretely identified by the state in terms of what these consequences can be. But as a district, we're always positioned to make decisions before the state has to intervene to tell us what we have to do. And so those are part of the things that was presented to you in the differentiated support plan. So if we can follow through with many of those strategies, I feel confident that we can start making progress in many of these schools that are falling in these categories.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Dr. May, thank you for your report so far. Quick question for you.
Yes.
When we look at the markers, I believe you said that we will get these scores every year?
So this is based on CCRPI component scores. So yes, every year we will have CCRPI component scores. With regard to performance for CSI and ATSI, what matters is the year in which they were identified and the performance at the end of that. So the comparison is year of identification to the end year performance. So for example, for those schools that were identified school year 2023, it's their spring 2026 performance that will matter with the next cycle for both CSI and ATSI because they're on a 3-year cycle. For TSI, because it's annual, then every single year they look for that entrance criteria to be met.
So we just look at it every year on that side, but
Yes.
I guess my question is, how do we identify what's happening along the way before the year marker gets there? How do
Of
we
course.
and pivot to make it better
Yes.
or adjust?
So our diagnostic and formative assessments.
Yeah, so that is a great question. So we have a set of assessment data that we track. So we can see what students, how they're progressing in all subgroups. When we analyze our testing data, whether it be from MAP, which is what we use as a universal screener to determine like how are our students at this point of the year, or when we look at our DRC Beacon, which are our benchmark assessments, we look at them by the individual student, and we also look at them like how's the school performing, but then we look at it by the subgroups that were identified earlier, which would be Black, all free, things of that nature. And so we look at how those students are progressing. When we go back and principals write plans, they write 45-day plans based off of that analyzed data. And so they make specific strategies of how they are targeting those specific subgroups. Now, there is no magic strategy to teach a Black student differently than you teach a white student. But what they look at is what are the indicators that the leading indicators that could be causing this student to experience some academic challenges. If it's around attendance, then they make sure they are working with their attendance team around these particular students. If it's around tier 2 instruction, like interventions, to help them, with meeting the standard, so they actually provide the remediation and tutoring to help students in mathematics and reading. So it's things of that nature, but it's specific to that school and specific to those students and those individual subgroups. And they revise those 45-day plans 4 times a year.
Okay. Ms. Campbell, then Hoskins, Ms. Hall.
One more clarifying question. So when they're on for the 3-year cycle,
Yes.
is that they have to stay on for the entire 3 years?
Correct.
They don't come off ever, even if, because like some of the scoring, it looked like it got better and then maybe
Correct. Oh, yes,
went
we have
south
seen
again.
improvements along the way, but all of those, we hope are sustained for the entire process, because all that matters is that end year
Okay.
of that 3-year cycle.
Okay, awesome. And then with the designations that or the interventions or things that can happen, the 9 things that Dr. Barnes was talking about?
Yes.
Do we decide what happens at the end, or does the state decide?
The state decides that, and it's in fact part of House Bill 338. So House Bill 338 outlines all of those possible consequences. But it would be up to the Georgia Department of Education.
Okay,
To
and then
make that
how
determination.
much do we have in the process of, you were saying the leading indicators, that it shouldn't be different how you teach one student versus another student based on race or whatever the designation is. Are we going in there and looking at the data, or are we letting the state decide what the indicators are versus what is actually happening in this specific school?
No, so that is driven by our district. Our Office of Strategy and Performance Management has created a comprehensive assessment system that allows us to disaggregate that data, so we can look at exactly how students are performing, and the actual correlating reports that we can give directly to principals, and so that they can just plan instructionally. The goal when that division created the assessment strategy is to remove the whole analysis piece at a high level from principals, so they can do the most important work, and that is look at the data and plan the instructional plans. They can spend more time with their teachers in planning and more times in the classroom to make sure that teachers are really meeting the needs of kids.
I love that. Okay, good. So it sounds like we're taking the differentiation of schools very seriously, and that's great. Awesome, thank you.
Hoskins Brown?
Thank you. So in listening to these categories and the consequences,
Yes.
it sounds like this is kind of No Child Left Behind 3.0, except in No Child
Right.
Left Behind, we were assessed on the performance of the whole school, and if you were in an underperforming demographic, then as long as the majority of the kids at that school were performing high, you kind of got diluted inside the higher measure, and, okay, that school's doing okay. But it looks like this version is, how well are you doing with the least of us? You know,
Yes.
for lack of a better
Sure.
metaphor. How well are you doing for the lowest performing subgroup? And you're going to be categorized based on how well you're doing with the ones that are
Yes.
struggling the most. And the consequences seem like they're borrowed from No Child Left Behind. Private takeover, turnaround, remove 51% of the school. Is that kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Thank you.
one thing I will note is that Godot was very reluctant to provide a clear answer aside from House Bill 338 and the potential consequences listed there, because their entire aim is to provide additional support to districts with the goal of having as few of schools as possible identified year over year.
Ms. Hall?
Okay, well, one thing that they could do if they really are serious about that is provide robust training for boards so that we are passing policies and actions that really help our children along with this. But if they refuse to do that, because these are people up there, these aren't, pie in the sky. These are people creating these. So they know what the best practices are to get a school from here to here. So we board members need to be trained in that so that we're doing everything we can to help our principals and our teachers avoid all those dismal outcomes that could happen. So again, Mr. Moss, I asked that we pressure them about coursework that will help us help our children.
Yes. Ms. Grabowski?
Going back to the details that Dr. Barnes described that are differentiated support for these schools, that's the same information that we received at our board retreat, correct?
Yes.
So I just think it's important to make sure that we're all connecting those dots, because we did receive a pretty in-depth overview, and I think we were all very excited about the plans for differentiated support for these schools. So we are doing things differently. And I would say to Ms. Hall, like, to me, that's the most valuable part as a board member, is knowing how we are tailoring our approaches to meet the specific needs of our schools, not to, dismiss any training we could get from the state, but we know our schools best, and I'm very excited to see how the strategies that we are now implementing will be, what the impact will be of those. And I don't know, Dr. Wright, I know you said you're already starting to see some benefit. I don't know what benchmarks I know you can't look too soon, but at what point do you anticipate we might be able to see how much is it doing versus what we had done in the past, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so we are beginning to look at data quarterly. And so we're ending the mid-year assessment a map, and we will get a stock take of how all our schools are, but we also will look at how our differentiated support schools are progressing. We do have our first round of early data around AMIRA, high dosage tutoring, and that is very promising to date. So we're looking at our real-time teacher coaching, which was a significant investment, and we're actually seeing an increased number of student engagement and on-task behaviors in our instructional lessons. Another significant investment that we made was around observation and feedback, and just training leaders on giving feedback to teachers. And we have schools that are deeply involved in the coaching cycle. I will lift up some of our schools that have had over 700 actual instructional touch points this year. That means they are actually going to the classrooms, giving feedback to teachers on something instructionally, or they're giving feedback to teachers on something around management of the classroom. As a result, we're seeing in some of those schools a decrease in disengaged classrooms, and also a decrease in student behaviors. We still have a long way to go, but the culture of coaching and continuous improvement, it is quickly growing. We just released our newsletter today to highlight some of those things with our principals, and they are excited. Each time they see those results, it is almost like, how can I have a bite at the candy? I want to be highlighted in the newsletter because it's the right thing for kids, and they are actually seeing the change in practices in their school. So we're very hopeful that this trend will continue, and it's going to translate to changes in GMAS.
That's wonderful news. Thank you for sharing that. And a couple of key words that were mentioned just then were investment. Investment in coaching, investing in assessment, and it takes investment for us to continue this forward progress. So we need to be mindful of that as we start to head into detailed budget discussions coming forward.
I just want to add one little caveat, that this performance around 5%, 25%, all the percents, is relative to other schools in the state. So we really will not know until all the data is laid out, because we could show improvement, but if other schools across the state improve faster or improve more, then our improvement is not necessarily acknowledged in such a way that it takes a school off this list. So just as a reminder, we could see progress, but it's relative to the progress of every other school in the state of Georgia.
Well, and perhaps getting back to Ms. Hall's point, that's where the state level information would be really
Right.
helpful, knowing what those students.
Okay, before anyone else, Dr. Howard Hall.
Thank you. Could you talk a little about the enhanced funding allocations that are provided for these designated schools? And also, we should have the Title I department should be in here, especially the Title I director, if she's here. Maybe they can speak on that, because I do know, as Dr. Hoskins Brown mentioned before, referencing No Child Left Behind enactment, George W. Bush 2011. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's just different wording, AYP and all. But the Title I director has, privy information regarding the funding that these schools are allocated. They usually receive an excessive amount of funding to assist with school improvement. So is someone here to speak on the amount that they're receiving?
Mr. Butler.
Yes, so we can provide the actual formula for how those funds are allocated, but you're correct in that those schools are prioritized, but we can actually get you the specific allocations for those schools that have been identified.
Ms. Hall?
I just want to clarify what I was saying about board training. We have to have 9 hours of training every year. I don't need to know how to get along with the superintendent. I know that we've every time I look at the courses, how to get along with your superintendent. We need direct information that's going to help us push this progress along. Because I thought about that. Yeah, it'll be a statewide decision. It's all comparison. So anything that we can do to help our teachers, that's what I was saying. We need to be able to do, and not just that same ABC stuff that they've been giving us.
Hey, Dr. Hoskins Brown, and guys, we have some of the principals here. We want to hear from them. So, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of point to what Ms. Hall said. It's training, if anyone is listening that can help GSBA change what they offer, it's not soft skills training. It's data-driven process analysis. It's more technical skills, not how to get along with your superintendent. Thank you.
Okay. So, as we progress, just this chart shows you the federally identified schools. So keep in mind, when we're saying that they were identified in January 2024, that is based on 2023 CCRPI performance. For January 25, it would have been based on 2024 CCRPI performance. And then to the points raised earlier with regard to looking at how our identified schools have been performing across the last 3 years, you can see the general pattern has been of improvement and gains made along the way, year after year. So that green highlight designates the change between 2023 and 25. Remember, for the 3-year cycle, the data that will matter is this year, spring 2026. So we're looking for this trend analysis to continue and those gains to continue to be made. And now I'd like to invite our first principal presenter, Dr. Christian Panton, to talk about Mercer Middle School.
Good morning, Board President, Mr. Moss, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Watts, and distinguished guests. I'm Dr. Christian Panton, proud principal of Mercer Middle School, home of the Raiders, where our scholars consistently emulate Raider pride by being prepared, respectful, involved, disciplined, and engaged in everything that they do. This morning, I'm pleased to present an update on Mercer Middle School's progress and the targeted systems of support that are driving improvement across instruction, culture, and student outcomes. The information shared today reflects Mercer Middle School's federally identified status and the district's coordinated efforts to accelerate achievement. Mercer Middle School receives one of the district's most comprehensive support packages due to its continued improvement work. Critical components include leadership coaching and oversight, which consists of weekly principal coaching by our school support officer, Mrs. Morrell, monthly co-action walks focused on instructional rigor and feedback, cross-department district team collaboration to address identified needs, and participation in relay coaching, instructional rounds, and district-led professional learning conferences. On the topic of staffing enhancements, to strengthen instructional capacity, the district allocated 1 additional assistant principal, 2 academic coaches with a focus on ELA and math, 1 additional ESOL teacher, 0.5 family engagement facilitator, and 0.5 secretary. With respect to school improvement support from Godot and RISA, we receive full-time Godot School Effectiveness Specialist support, which is assigned to us 4 days weekly, as well as a RISA School Improvement Specialist providing daily and weekly coaching. We also receive ongoing Godot Professional Learning and federal programs, continuous improvement, and also from MathCon. We have joint Godot district and site classroom observations and feedback cycles. Looking at curriculum and instruction department support as well as additional supports, we have differentiated planning support from curriculum and instruction content specialists on a weekly basis, as well as focused ESOL and SWD coaching aligned to high leverage instructional practices. Within the topic of student services and counseling supports, we also received an additional school social worker support that occurs on every Monday, as well as the Everyday Labs pilot program to improve attendance and wellness of counseling initiatives, including trauma-informed training and RABT professional learning for counselors. In terms of our school improvement actions for this school year, Mercer Middle School's school-level actions are tightly aligned to the Georgia Department of Education high leverage practices and focus on strengthening Tier 1 instruction. And these key instructional actions include explicit planning using the Georgia Department of Education collaborative planning protocols, data-driven differentiation during the instructional focus block, the implementation of the academic monitoring strategy during independent work sessions to adjust instruction in real time, as well as daily teacher feedback delivered using the School Grow platform to support continuous improvement. These instructional systems ensure that every classroom maintains consistent expectations, aligned rigor, and responsive instruction. On the topic of school improvement successes, Mercer Middle School has demonstrated clear, measurable academic growth across multiple content areas. Within ELA achievement growth, and looking at our NWEA MAP Fall 2025 projections, in comparison to last school year, 6th grade has increased from approximately 24.7% of our scholars projected for proficiency to 32.1%, 7th grade, 24.5 to 26.9%, and 8th grade, 22.4 to 37.3%. Overall, Mercer Middle School achieved approximately 2 to 15 percentage point gains in ELA content mastery. Furthermore, 160 of our scholars, which is 32% of our student enrollment, met or exceeded CCRPI Lexile benchmarks. Within the topic of math achievement growth, based on our NWEA MAP Fall 2025 content mastery projections, 6th grade projected approximately 18.3% to 37.1%, 7th grade 23.2 to 25%, and 8th grade 13 to 24.2%, which also represents a 2 to 11 percentage point gain in math content mastery. In looking at our student attendance improvements through the Raiders Rise Up Student Attendance Challenge, consistent communication and strategic monitoring, Mercer Middle School has seen improvement in average daily attendance, reinforcing the school's focus on student engagement when we compare the implementation of this challenge from last year to this year, from the months of August through November. In looking at our school culture achievements, Mercer Middle School has cultivated a thriving, student-centered culture supported by strong partnerships and extracurricular activities. And some of these highlights include our Godot Exceptional Progress Recognition that occurred in July of this year, ongoing computer science and STEM programming supported by Amazon Future Engineers and Georgia Tech, ongoing partnerships with Gulfstream, Members First Credit Union, Gateway Terminals, Curtis V. Cooper, and others, award-winning participation in district and regional competitions, expanded mentoring through our Raider Squad, which is an acronym for Scholars Qualified and Unified Against Destruction, our Deep Center Writing Program, and College and Career Access initiatives, as well as our robust PBIS systems, student celebrations, community events, and staff morale boosting initiatives. This work on school culture reinforces academic improvement by increasing belonging, motivation, and positive student engagement. In looking at our sustainability and next steps, to sustain momentum, Mercer Middle School will deepen its focus on data-driven instruction, targeted interventions, and high-quality planning and delivery. We will focus on continued analysis of our NWA MAP MOY assessment data, where we are wrapping up our assessment this week to redesign our interventions for second semester, as well as strengthen our analytical text practices and evidence-based writing, integrate reading to writing structures across ELA, science, and social studies classrooms, as well as increase explicit vocabulary instruction and expand close reading and annotation routines. In looking at our next steps for math, we will target deficits in numerical reasoning, which is currently the lowest performing domain. And we will use progress learning liftoff pathways during our intervention block, as well as ensure we implement error analysis and justification routines, as well as reinforce key standards through spiral review and hands-on initiatives. Within our instructional systems next steps, we will continue refining our collaborative planning processes, strengthen our EL and SWD support through structured instructional models, monitor our short-term action plans weekly and quarterly, and conduct weekly instructional rounds for coaching and collaboration. In closing, Mercer Middle School is demonstrating strong, accelerating growth as a result of focused instructional improvement, strategic staffing support, and a deeply collaborative district-school partnership. Academic outcomes show meaningful progress, culture is strengthening, and systems for long-term sustainability are firmly in place. We remain committed to ensuring that every Mercer Middle School scholar experiences high-quality learning and continuous academic growth. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you for your presentation. A quick question for you. On slide 20, you stated that attendance has gone up. Does attendance going up show connection to academics going up?
Yes, sir, most definitely. Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So would you say that that is the model that should be, do you think that's a model that would be adopted in every school? Because in my mind, some students coming to school might hurt test scores more, and some students coming will benefit. So until we can get them to where they need to be, is what I'm saying. So have you been seeing any of that in your school, or
Correct.
does that question make sense?
Yes, sir. So I've definitely seen a strong correlation between the highest average daily attendance is in sixth grade, and we're definitely seeing a correlation there in terms of their academic performance and growth. But also district-wide, attendance matters, and that is something that we are definitely implementing district-wide as well.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Campbell.
To piggyback off of your point, I think one thing that it shows that's really great about your attendance is that you can see that the culture is shifting, right? Because in eighth grade, maybe you had a little drop off, not significant, but eighth grade has been there for the longest amount of time.
Correct.
And the struggle is still real with them, it seems, but sixth and seventh grade are improving month after month. So I applaud you guys on at
Thank
least,
you.
because the culture, I feel personally, is part of what's causing the issues. Right now, lack of academic success over many years will mean that you're further behind, and that's a struggle, but changing the culture is probably the hardest thing. So I applaud your efforts. It's clear that
Thank you.
the culture is shifting
Thank you.
in your numbers.
Dr. Howard Hall.
Thank you once again. I also applaud your efforts But I recall maybe 20-plus years ago, Mercer was in the same situation, or maybe worse. But a principal there, some of you may remember Gloria Dukes, she turned that school around. And I sat one day and asked her, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And she embraced RISA. RISA is a wonderful resource. Embrace them 100%, because as you stand there now as CSI, you can become TAP, turnaround principal, and train other principals. That's what we want to see. We want to see turnaround principals.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a journey. I know a lot is on here that's planned what you're doing and what the district is doing. But when the public look at it, they only see content mastery. And when they see the 28%, 29% contact mastery, seems like nothing else matters, but we know that it does matter.
Correct.
So my charge to you and every principal that's out there, that's designated right now, designate yourself as a TAP, a turnaround principal.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if Gloria Dukes can do it, you can do it.
Ma'am, thank you.
Okay, this side.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And for your passion for what you're doing. My question is, I see the strategies, and I trust and believe that you know how to implement them. I see the technical language. I see the scholarship that's gone into figuring out how to get to the end of where you want to get. What my question is, well, I have two of them. One is, how or do people feel that when they walk into the building? Is there a, and I don't want to say that there's been like a negative atmosphere, but in the movie Lean on Me, you saw this difference when you walked in the building, when this new plan of how we were going to do things. So one of my questions is there a palpable feeling that the young people and the team feel from this energy and approach that you're doing? And then the other question is, how can partners and parents and community members reinforce and support what you're doing in the school day, outside of the school day, or what can they bring to help you during the school day?
Those are two really great questions. So one thing to let you know, regardless of the side of the campus that you enter, you definitely feel that love and support, that energy, that true Mercer rate of pride. Not just from the intentionality of placing that exceptional school progress banner at the front part of the school, so that is up in lights, as well as our rate of pride wall, so everyone understands these are the expectations, this is what our culture is, but also our legendary educators. They definitely ensure that our core values are consistently displayed throughout the school day. Our core values are teamwork, relationships, accountability, compassion, and excellence. And we lead by those 5 principles on a daily basis. But in terms of additional support, I will say we have received overwhelming support since we came back home. We call it our homecoming, and we are glad to be back in Garden City. But if there are any additional supports that I definitely believe, I will definitely reach out to you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Ms. Grabowski?
Thank you for the update and congratulations on your progress.
Thank you.
And I'd love to hear you talk about the values that you are really emulating throughout the school and throughout the lessons. And I was actually, before you said that, going to make a comment on your logo, I guess, your seal.
Yes, ma'am.
When was that developed?
That was developed in the summer of 2018.
Okay. I just think it's just great to have a kind of visual reminder that can just really be something that pride can be built around. And it's great to hear you embracing, I think we kind of dismiss those intrinsic things a little bit sometimes, but I think they really do make a difference. So just want to make those comments. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall? Oh, Dr. Howard Hall?
Just like to add one more thing. You actually are in an advantage because Garden City is different than Savannah. It's a smaller community. And are you reaching out to the business partners, the churches? Because there are so many resources there that people I know for a fact that would love to come in and volunteer, provide their time, their resources. So please reach out to that community because it's a beautiful school now that's in the heart of the city. And reach out, because that was another thing that I knew that the previous, well, not previous, but Ms. Dukes that I mentioned, she had a very strong communication and relationship with that community. So embrace that community. There's a lot of resources there and a lot of help and a lot of people that's interested in in helping you all succeed.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions. The data that you're providing us, especially the CCRPI data, are you basing that on developing or proficient?
So that projected proficiency, yes, yes, sir. So it's based on those students within the developing, proficient, and distinguished level. Yes, sir.
Okay.
For content mastery calculation.
I would love to see proficient and above because that's
Yes,
what
sir.
we're really talking about.
It is projecting, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure the
Yeah,
word
I know.
projection, projecting proficiency, and it is a diagnostic. So the extent to which it is going to produce the same outcome as a GMAS score, we don't know.
I
We can't be
understand.
100% confident in that.
I guess what I'm saying is
It is
our,
proficient, though.
our expectation,
Yes, sir.
because to get out of this to where we want it to be, we don't only want you off that list. We want you doing the best and our kids.
Correct.
Because we want those children to have the opportunity to say, I go to the best school. And we have turned this school around. That's one. Two, what can we do? What can we do to help you?
That's a great question, sir. So I will definitely say that this school year I've received some additional extensive support through the Office of School Leadership and the Office of Instruction Excellence. But as I mentioned earlier, if any additional supports do arise, I will definitely reach out to you as well as Dr. Watts, so we can discuss that. Yes, sir.
Ms. Hall?
Dr. Panton,
Yes, ma'am.
if we told you that we would pay for any of your teachers who want to go to school to embrace the Excel, you don't call it Excel, the gifted curriculum, that we would pay for them to go and take those courses and that training, would that be of help to you?
So yes, but also one thing I will proudly say is that this year at Mercer Middle School, I actually have 13 legendary educators within the gifted endorsement program. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and that's part of this success that you're seeing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I really want to connect what we're doing here around this horseshoe with what's happening
Yes, ma'am.
in the classrooms. And to me, our job over these next few years while you're going through these cycles is to see what we're doing to continually promote you, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Greetings, President Moss. Also, I'd like to say greetings to our esteemed board members, as well as Superintendent Watts. Thank you for giving the opportunity to, as a first-year principal, to present some of the things that we're doing here at Hubert Middle School, to show some of the gains and improvements that we have been working on. All right, the first thing that I'd like to speak about is the support that we receive from the district. We have Ms. Morrell, my SSO, who gets with me weekly for my principal coaching sessions. She makes sure I does not miss one. She's there. If something's going on, she's going to call me and let me know when we can reschedule. So I do not miss one of those weekly meetings. Also, with the support that she has, we have our school team that comes through and people from the district that come through do our monthly co-action walks. Where we go through the classrooms, particularly, because we go through all of them pretty much. Because we have people from the district who come in also, whether it be science or social studies, and they hit their areas. And then we mainly hit the English and math areas. And we get together after that and we review the data and then we make our next step after that. So We do appreciate that support. We have also support in our level alike and school admin professional monthly meetings. We recently had CT3 come in, and they offer real-time coaching and training to our teachers and give feedback and kind of what that is. I know you may not know what CT3 is, but they have a person from this company, from company CT3, where they come in and get with our coaches. They go into the classrooms. They give real-time feedback to that teacher as they're teaching to kind of improve instruction. And we went into actually one of our core action walks, and we saw some of the instructions that were given to a teacher. She was using that and putting that into practice the next time we went in. So we do appreciate that also. And then we have our relay instruction rounds. One of the things that I greatly appreciate is our above allotment positions that we asked for the district. We have one with an assistant principal, and I also asked for one for dean of students, and they have been a great additional support for us going into this year. From Godot and RISA, some of the similar things that we do with the district, they also do. They assist us with the federal program, continuous improvement, data analysis, MathCom, professional learning, and they also have been in one time this fall to do almost like another correction walk, and they're coming back in the spring. We were pleased with the data that they gave us, the feedback they gave us from that walk. They know marginal improvements from the time that they had been there the previous year. So that really was a great assistance to us. Also, we have our quarterly annual data monitoring, feedback, and support meetings. Okay, also things that the district kind of helps us out with is our instructions planning support. They have, their different departments have been to the building a number of times. The English department, math, science, and social studies, they actually come with us on these correction walks. They have come in and did professional development from what they've seen for the correction walks. So they have been a great help. Anytime we call, they come right out. They're constantly in and out of our building, and we really appreciate that support we get from them. The ESOL department also has been a great assistance. Last year, we did not have a full-time ESOL person at school. This year, we do have a full-time person here. She's brand new, but we have a tremendous amount of help from the district getting her up to speed. So we feel really good about the direction that's going in. She has come in, and she had 2 parent meetings with our Hispanic and ESOL community. They came out to a 2-parent night, so we really do appreciate that input that we have from the families that's come in. And she also is doing an access boot camp with our students of the ESOL population, where she puts them during our instructional focus time, and she kind of helps them with those math and science areas that we hope will help them eventually exit the ESOL program, but also help with their test scores. We also had a number of professional developments and feedback and learning with our SPED department downtown. They have been in the building a number of times also and offer us some greatly needed help, because we have a lot of new teachers that are in our building this year. We had a high turnover from last year this year. So we really did need the additional support for our teachers in this area. And then some other support that we have in the area of student attendance is we have the Everyday Labs pilot. We're a pilot school for that. It gives us very detailed information about our attendance, so we can keep better track of that. We also have our daily attendance meetings also, where we kind of reach out to those parents and students to get them excuses in if they need to have excuses in, or kind of find out what's going on with them, send letters out, we send a social worker out to kind of find out what may be a barrier for them in attending school. Some of our data from 24 to 25. This is our ELA content. You can see from the spring of 24 to spring of 25, there was a decrease of 2.09% for that. And you see the additional data down below. That's our GMAS on the left column compared to our map data on the right-hand side. Now, the sixth grade data that's missing there, I was able to obtain some information from A.B. Williams. I was not able to obtain the information from Schumann. But the GMAS for A.B. Williams was 39.9 for that sixth grade piece that's missing there. But seventh grade for 19.1 to 22.2. Eighth grade is 35.3 to 20.3. Now that was our beginning data. We are currently in the second, doing our second phase of testing with our map. We have seen some significant gains in our English. So in about a week or two, we'll have more accurate data as to the gains we made from our map testing. Okay, same thing with the math. This is our spring data from 24 to 25. We had a drop in by 0.7 in those areas. Sixth grade, once again, from GMAS to MAP, 27.2 to 23.3, 15.8 to 27.3, and then we had 27.8 to 18. And once again, same thing with the MAP data for math. We have seen gains from our first testing session to the current one we're currently doing now. And once again, our students are currently doing the makeups for those students areas now. Look, one of the things that we're actually very, very, very pleased at this year is our attendance data has gone up. Last year, it was in the year 87%. This year, we're 94.2. We think we can even get that up even higher. But some things that we've done in those areas were, once again, our weekly attendance meetings. We have teachers communicating with parents, doing their parent-teacher logs. No Child Left Behind. We have our 5-step discipline protocol, PBS, PBS program. And one of the things that we really, really want to highlight is our house system. I know Dr. Hopkins has been in there in the building before. Anybody who comes in too new to the building, we pretty much make them pick a house. She didn't pick the right house, but she did pick a house. And what that's helped with our attendance, but also has helped with our school culture, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But each person, all the teachers were given a house. There's 4 colors house. We have the red house, green house, black house, and the best house, of course, the blue house. That's what I'm a part of. And we also have our students in those different houses also. And you earn points, for students to earn points by grades, behavior, attendance. You can earn your house more points by being in those different particular house. For teachers, of course, teachers like competition. So we have maybe different days. Well, on Friday, you may dress up a certain way, and if everybody wears a hat, you earn points for your house. We also have what we call, like, at end of month, a house party, where I would get some items together for the teachers so they can kind of eat on the way out the door to try to lift the morale, because sometime after a week of work, or a month of work, you kind of need those uplifting things. We have our attend dance party. What we're planning one for another one. We're getting ready to plan another one for January. An attend dance party, as you see the play on words. So we're very pleased at our attendance increase, and we hope to get that up even more. A part of our school improvement goal, one of the things we really want to focus on is improving the school climate rating this year. We want to go from 75.4 to 85.4. Hopefully, we want to go really high on that, but we want to at least set a goal. And we already mentioned some of the things that we're doing to improve the culture and climate in the building. But in addition to those, we have our counselors going to select the student of the month. We have Wing of the Week, which the kids are really kind of get excited about. I usually make an announcement about this week, the wing with the least amount of discipline infractions, they usually receive some kind of treat. And whether it be a bag of Takis, lollipops, they go crazy over those small little things. but they even get more excited that they won. I was making announcement one week, and I said 7th grade won. I could hear them yelling in the front office. So, so they kind of really get excited about those things. So we're trying to give these kids the incentive to kind of improve the overall climate of the school. And we think we're making great strides in that area. Our other improvement goal is, of course, we want to focus on our content mastery areas for our core content areas. ELA, we want to go from 22.1 to 30%. Math, we want to increase from 23.2 to 33%. Science from 9.4 to 20%. And social study from 24.2 to 33.8. And of course, we want to go as high as we can. Of course, we want numbers higher than that, but we want to once again set a goal. The ways that we're going to do that is to consistently implement collaborative planning processes focused on deconstruction of standards, developing learning targets with success criteria, work on improving our assessments, and make sure that the activities that kids are doing in class are aligned to the standard. You also want to use our DRC beacon data and map data to kind of guide our instructions to help us move to the next steps. Some things that we are doing here that we're really proud of to help with our school culture. We have our MSAP grant. That's a magnet school essential program. What we really want to work on going forward is we want to make sure that we become a magnet school in the upcoming years. We know it's a process of typically 3 to 4 years. We want to make Hubert a magnet school. So we are making strides that we have our STEM and STEAM Saturday sessions, which we had 2 already this year. We had another one where we had our MSAP camp that was over summer. We have another one this year. Some of the projects the kids did was they made an air conditioner out of a cooler. So they were really excited about that. Another one was trying to make a car powered with not batteries or anything move. So the kids were really excited about that. I already mentioned the Wing of the Week. We have 2 girls groups that we're working on this year. That's they call Empower Her Mentoring Group, which we take a young lady from school, and one of our teachers is over that and works with that. Dr. Fields has also another group called Links. Yeah, and she pulls in people from the community to meet with our young ladies. We just had a meeting with the Links just 2 weeks ago, where they learn financial literacy, of course, how to behave, things to look out for in the community to make sure they're protected. And then we also have our clubs. I mentioned we had a bike giveaway yesterday. Sometimes we want to focus sometimes our kids who do well get overlooked. So we want to make sure we kind of recognize those. So we had teachers each pick 2 students from their homerooms, a young lady and a young male, and we did a raffle. We had 10 bikes that we received, so we raffled those bikes off and the program for that. So we want to make sure we don't overlook anybody because sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We want to make sure sometimes the ones that are well greased stay oil also. All right, I talked about the Access Boot Camp, EL Boot Camp, where we are pulling the students in during instructional time with our ESOL kids to kind of get their scores up. We are also proud of a couple of activities we had. We had the mayor come out to Hubert twice. The first time they did a Mayor on the Move, where they went to the gym. They got with the students. They danced, learned line dances. President Moss was a part of that. We got pictures of him dancing. If anybody wants to see those, I can charge y'all a little bit of money to see some of his moves. But the mayor came out there then, and then the funny thing was when I said the principal said, "Oh, you're gonna be back because we're doing some great things here at Hubert." So it just so happened that one of our students won pothole patch competition, where they named Uncle Phil, where she named the pothole machine that fills potholes around the community. So as soon as she came back, she said, "I told you to be back." So, no, we've done some great things. I could go to, I'll probably spend an hour talking about the great things we've done. We recently started a food bank, and Representative Hopkins has donated some items for our food bank, so we really appreciate her and the support that she's given us. But we want to make Cuba not just a learning area, but we also want to make Cuba a place where, you know, community can feel welcome into our building, and we can, because once, if you feel whole as a child, you learn better. And so that's our kind of concept behind that. These are a couple other organizations that kind of help us out. Compassion Christian comes in. We have a guy who comes in every week, talks to our students, invites them to different programs around the community or church that he has. They also donated some pizza for our teachers last week, so we really appreciate that. We have Positive Peer Influence. That's a group they're working with Savannah High students. They come to our building. They work with our students to, you know, let them know, you don't need to submit to peer pressure, give them some outlook of things you may need for high school, things of that sort. Curtis V. Cooper comes out once a month and to give our kids, of course, medical care. Second Harvest, we partnered with them this year. We know a lot of kids go home hungry. Sometimes the only meal they get is in school. So anybody who stayed after school, Second Harvest provides us with meals, and we feed our athletes, feed those kids who are staying for club or cheerleading or tutorial. So everybody who's after school, they get a meal, and that, of course, Second Harvest helps us with that. Backpack Buddies is another organization that kind of feeds our kids where they get a bag on the weekend, take home with them so they don't go hungry over the weekends. And then we also have Fish Gotta Swim. They came in to help our science department and took them on a field trip to the beach to help them kind of do some research on some marine items. So those are some things that we are doing there. Some next steps, we of course want to look at our map data and our DRC beacon data to kind of guide our next step as the instruction goes. We're going to start we have already had a couple of Saturday tutorials, but we want to continue with our Saturday tutorial to help with our attendance and also our GMAS, because in the spring we'll be revving up for our students to take our GMAS. So we're going to have our GMAS geared Saturday schools coming up. And we also want to start a resource room that's going to help with our students with disability. We're going to pull them during the connection time and kind of drill down and focus on them with their areas of math and language arts. And then for the last part, with our DSC Beacon, once again, we're going to take that data that we obtained from that test and help us guide our next steps as it goes to our instruction of our students. And if I could take, for my close, I'd like to take 30 seconds, just real quick to thank everybody who has assisted us this year. Dr. Hopkins, with her, anytime we call President Moss, he's out there and attending, whether it be in the cold, he's out there with us last time in the cold. So we really appreciate that. And then also the help that we have from our district support. No matter who you call from the district, they come. And that's one thing I know different from last time I was principal to this time. You call them, they're gonna come. A funny story about Dr. Taylor, I called her one time.
You email me.
I'm sorry, emailed her. And then, so she called back and I missed the call. So as I'm walking the walkway, 2 minutes later, who I see come down the hallway? Dr. Taylor. So, so my purpose, anytime you call anybody from the district, they are great help. They try to get you wherever you need. So you have not because you ask not, so.
Dr. Howard Hall.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you so much for what you're doing. You can feel the energy in the building when you come in. The support that is rallying around Mr. Cox is just really palpable. The first time when I came the first day of school, I had instructors come up to me and say, "Thank you so much. He is wonderful." We love it here, and we love what he's doing. So I just want to acknowledge the way that you have change the atmosphere and how attentive you are to the students, that really, really does make a difference. And I've had multiple people come to me and talk about how good it is to serve under your leadership.
Thank you. I paid them well.
Dr. Howard Hall?
Yes, thank you. Can you share with us a few insights on the paramount challenges that you encountered as your initial appointment to a school that was in that designation as CSI?
There were a number of challenges. One I mentioned kind of briefly. We had a large number of turnover in the building, teacher turnover, so we had a lot of new teachers in there. So you have a group of teachers that were trained, but now you have to retrain everybody because you have a whole new group. So that's kind of major challenge there, because typically if you have a group and you have one for a while, you don't have to go back to square one with professional development, training of that sort. You can kind of start them off, where you left off the previous year. So that's a challenge. Another challenge we're trying to overcome is we want to have transportation after school. So one of the things we're looking at next year is see if we get 21st century program back into the building so our kids can stay after school, because all our kids don't have transportation. Most of our kids are bus riders. So if we can get the 21st century program in the building, we can have more after-school activities where we can focus on instructions. That's another challenge that we're kind of looking at and seeing how we can overcome that, which I said if we get 21st century program and everything, that would take care of a number of things. Those are probably two of our biggest challenges. I know one thing I know we really had to focus on coming to this year was before I came into the position, as soon as I got in the building, people saying that morale was low. So we really want to focus on school climate this year. So a big rock for us is improving our school climate. So we think we have made gains in that area also. But those are probably the biggest challenges that we want to overcome.
Okay, and from one rattler to another, keep striking.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just had one other thing.
Yes.
One of the comments that I had heard that late last year, as prior to Mr. Cox coming, was that Hubert was one of the schools that suffered from a low early count from slow attendance, and that after the 10-day count, the number of positions that's allocated, that was a problem that was shared with me. And so I also want to acknowledge the superintendent putting the other 2 positions there that Mr. Cox asked for that kind of helped address that. That was one of the things that was a kind of a underlying problem that I didn't know affected a number of schools, that when you didn't have the right attendance at the 10-day count, then people come late and you don't have the right number of instructors because there's a perception that the enrollment is lower than it actually is. So thank you for providing support and fixing those kind of problems.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Lewis, principal of White Bluff Elementary School. To President Moss and all other distinguished board members, Dr. Watts, of course, our superintendent, I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to stand before you to share with you information about White Bluff Elementary School, where our mission statement is every classroom, every child, every day. Our vision statement, high expectation, is our standard. And that's how we operate at White Bluff. If you walk into our building, we emphasize just celebrating our students and our staff and our community. You'll see pictures of our students, the student of the month, the student of the week, the teacher of the month, teacher of the week. You'll see our data posted throughout the building. We believe in transparency, and we are data-driven. You see our attendance data posted. You see our map data posted and other data. We're going to begin our presentation. With regards to district support plan, we're pleased, of course, I'm pleased to have an SSO, Miss Nani, who's very, very visible. She provides principal leadership development, data-driven decision-making, and accountability and instructional priorities. Those are the focuses. I'm excited about our monthly core walks that take place, where we have our classroom observations. We look at that bite-sized, actionable feedback that is provided to those teachers, and also rapid identification of how the district can then support us based on that feedback. Also, I'm excited about the above allotment positions that have been added to White Bluff. We're subject to get a new sped teacher this current school year to support us with our ATSI designation. We already received an additional ESL teacher, an additional school counselor, a .5 secretary and meter clerk, which now we have both full-time in those positions. And of course, the support from Godot and other partners with RISA. As far as our support continued, we received support from curriculum instruction through our EL department, ESOL department, and also our special needs department with specially designed instruction for our students, high-level practices, co-teaching with fidelity, assistive technology integration, and various research-based tools to support our students. I'm going to go to school improvement successes. We're very excited that we've seen significant growth from last year fall to this year fall with our MAP current data, where we see that our students, some of the key drivers were our targeted reading interventions, improved comprehension and fluency, early implementation of instructional strategies. And you see the growth, third grade from 22% to 44, fourth grade from 16 to 45, fifth grade from 41 to, from 37 to 11, that's ELA. And we saw some of the same type growth in math, with third grade being from 28 to 43%, fourth grade 24 to 34%, and fifth grade 24 to 25%. Some of the key takeaways was positive readiness trend across grades, early impact of instructional shifts, and strong foundations for continued growth. School improvement successes continued. We, of course, are a Title I school, and through that funding, we created a writing lab this school term where we target writing instruction, integrate into that's integrated through our special resource rotations. We have extended learning opportunities for our students through after-school tutorials, 21st century program. Attendance and academic recognitions initiatives, as I mentioned, we celebrate all the time. We celebrate weekly attendance leaders, pre-K through 5 with the trophy, with certificates. We celebrate our mirror leaders. We celebrate our math group recognitions, our MAP growth with recognitions, and we also have the various incentives that we provide to those students and those classes and those teachers. We're consistent. We see it consistent with our attendance rates. We see that our average attendance from beginning of the year to now has averaged from 94.3% to 96%. Last year we ended with 91%, and we've seen great improvement even with our attendance. I'm excited about how we engage our students once again with student data chats, a culture of accountability and celebrations, and we're doing something very different this year. We're having a MAP challenge with one of our sister schools, Brock Elementary, where we're saying whoever has the highest growth, that principal of that school has to wear that school's T-shirt for a whole week. I don't plan to wear Brock's T-shirt for a whole week, okay? So we're excited about that. School improvement actions. We see that all schools, of course, have our school improvement plans, and we develop our 45-day plan, as Dr. Barnes alluded to, and our goal is that 50% of our students will meet or exceed MAP growth, and that'll happen through our K through weekly mirror fluency practices and our grades 4 through 5 HMH scholastic level readers. And and in math, we expect that 50% of our students will meet or exceed MAP growth, and 85% of our students will participate in small groups twice weekly, and we still have HMH interventions and DRC support and manipulatives that are provided to our students. And then as we go to finally sustainability and next steps, and this is part of the most important category, how we're going to sustain that growth and that success with our students. Data-driven instruction and monitoring with flexible grouping, targeted intervention, schedules, standardized data reporting protocols, the use of data-informed grouping, DIG, which is the intervention model. Our assessment, we assess, we reteach, we reassess through formative assessments, guide instructions. Using a unified data tracker, where we look at our formative assessments, beacon, interim data, map results, et cetera. Instruction alignment and scheduling, standards aligned instruction. DIG calendar which is based on GMAS weighting, reading and writing 3 days a week, math 2 days a week. And then, of course, we frame our literacy and math blocks with clarity, consistency, and accountability, timely targeted instruction decisions. And in closing, White Bluff Elementary is demonstrating measurable growth, strong district collaboration, and clear plan for sustainability, ensuring continuous improvement and long-term success for all students. Thank you.
Ms. Grabowski.
Thank you for being here, Principal Lewis. Good to see
Yes.
you. So I have two questions. The first is, so if you can you go back to 38? Slide 38.
But I had to go back. I don't have the slide's number on this.
There you go, right there.
Okay, there we go.
I should have asked this question earlier. At the bottom, the third grade, the year-to-year comparisons, is that tracking the same cohort? So that, like, for third grade, those would have been last year's second graders, or is it the third graders in each year?
Right, third graders each year.
So it's a third, so the only potential cohort collation might be, well, the fourth grade, because they would have been the third graders the previous year.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And then, so those numbers look really positive, but the ones that the annual change in your GMAS doesn't reflect the positivity. I realize they're different grade bands, but just curious if you have thoughts as to why the GMAS is not aligning as much with the NWE.
And with GMAS, we've seen a sort of slope where we've had the growth and we've had a dip. And it's due to, just being very transparent, the loss of learning that we experienced over the years. And we're now sort of catching up now. And so we're on a continuous plan of improvement of growth with our students. Matter of fact, we're in the process of taking our middle of the year map, and we're already seeing 50% percentile growth with our students in math. Most of our students already tested, and with only 200 students tested in reading, and 48% percentile growth already. So we're seeing that steady growth.
Okay, great. And then the second, not really a question, but just a comment. I was excited when I visited this fall to see your 180 days around the world, and would love to hear, that may not be part of this, but would love for you to share that with the board and a little bit about how it's going.
Yes, well, our theme this year, of course, is 180 days around the world, and we are highlighting a different culture each year. I mean, each month, because we have a rich culture in our building, a melting pot in a sense. We had a program last night with over 400 parents, and to see the various cultures presenting and performing, it was just awesome.
That's
it was
awesome.
magnetic, and so we participate by presenting those cultures. First month we went to Jamaica, we went to Japan, we've gone to France. One of our teachers are from Asia. We went to Asia. So, and then they're also participating by creating dishes from those cultures for our students, for our staff, And so it's just been very, very rich for the students and staff.
That is so wonderful. Just the way that you're engaging your broader community and also helping to learn about different cultures. You know, we are living in a time where, unfortunately, we are becoming more and more isolated and afraid of anyone who's not like us. And so being able to celebrate
Yes.
and educate and really just come together around those diverse cultures is just fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
I think I heard Ms. Hall say earlier about students who are bilingual who speaks various languages. I have a first grader, a third grader who speaks 3 different languages.
Wow.
They're translating for their parents. They're translating for me. You know, I'm with my translator trying to figure out what they okay, so it's been just a new learning experience for us all. We've embraced it all.
Dr. Howard Hall and Ms. Campbell.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for helping me raise my son as a single mother when he attended Bartlett Middle School, and he gave me a run for my money, who is now a middle school teacher getting what a taste of his own medicine. For those who don't know, Mr. Lewis is a musician. He sings, he writes, and he actually wrote a song during the time when my son attended Bartlett. So how are you incorporating music, being that you're so talented within the school, if you're still doing that?
Well, I sang Frosty the Snowman last night at the program. There you go. That's the extent of what I do on music, because we have a music teacher, so I don't want to in any way invade on what she does. But I learned a long time ago that where your strength is, use it. And so during lunch, I may sing with the second graders or the third graders. We're doing, oh, yes, it is. It is one of those moments, okay? Yeah. And so it's just awesome, just opportunity to share that gift with them.
Ms. Campbell?
I was so encouraged by that. And Mr. Cox, I didn't say it earlier because I know we were trying to keep a timeline here, but very authentic. And I appreciate all that you guys are doing. I'm very moved by that. Did you say 400 parents?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
it just the experience of other cultures when we're talking about students who potentially don't see past, their small area in Savannah, don't travel, that's huge in itself. But parent engagement like that is something that, I hope people can replicate at other schools. Even the best schools need to have that kind of involvement.
And because of our open door policy, I want parents in my building. And so they understand what the expectations are. And when they all came into the gymnasium, we had some parents standing. Parents were coming and taking pictures, but I knew that we would be okay because they were there for their students to enjoy, and that's what happened last night. Okay?
That is amazing. And one other thing I wanted to highlight, I had the same question that Ms. Grabowski had about the shift in the GMAS scores, but one thing that I did want to recognize and applaud you for is that fourth grade, especially ELA, as I've done lots of research on science of reading, is something that is very hard to do, is to raise. Fourth grade is, from what I have seen, is where you kind of see a dip typically, even if you have gains in third and fifth. And you went from 16.5 to 45.8% gains. That is huge. So you're really doing something, and I appreciate the work you're doing.
Our fourth graders knocking it out of the park. We have
Absolutely.
just fantastic teachers at all grade levels. Fourth graders are really doing a tremendous job.
Thank you very much. And I want to make a couple of comments. One thing that, and this is for the public, one thing that you'll notice from all of their reports were support from our, what people refer to at 208 Bill Street. Note that we have people who are from central office who are in our schools. So let's make that distinction. Two, thank you all, your principals. I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough for all that you're doing. And whatever support you need, ask us. But I'm going to say this to the general public too. We need your help, because I'm going to suggest something for all of you. And the general public's going to help on this. All of these schools, when you exit that list, which you will be receiving a lot of prizes from the general public. So, because getting these schools off that list is important for our city and for our county. It's how we attract businesses. It's how we interrupt crime. It's how we grow. So over the next few months, over the next 2 years, you're going to be hearing a lot about how we as a city and a county can have not a good school system, the best school system possible. And you principals are a big part of that, and I can't thank you enough. Anyone else? Okay, I will accept. Oh, I'm sorry, we've got change orders. We don't. Oh, we do have another principal. I'm sorry. Oh, she's not here.
Unfortunately, one suffered an injury and
I
the other
remember
one had
that.
a
Okay.
conflict.
Okay,
I
good.
apologize.
We're good. We're good. Yes. Yes, Ms. Campbell.
If we're moving to change orders, can I ask Dr. May a question really fast that just for understanding?
Yes.
On slide 10, I know we were getting to principals, and I'm really glad that we did. But let's see, For clarification here, let me make sure it's slide 10. Electronics. It was the one with, oh, yes, I'm sorry, page 10, I guess, the district plan of support observation data, where you have the bar chart with green, and then in
Yes.
yellow, you have the percentage. Can you help me understand this, like on a very basic level? I don't even know how pointedly to ask this question.
So are you talking about the one now, page 12, the district plan of support?
No. Let me see.
I think it's
Is it this?
13 in the deck.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, here we go.
Yes, thank you.
So, with regard, I'm honestly, our office didn't compute this data, so this would be based on classroom observations, I'm assuming?
Yes, so this data reflects the support that is provided by the state, which also includes our First District RESA and those site visits. So that's what this data reflects.
So when it says like, say, lesson plans 11, just for a simple example, what does the 11 represent? And what's the green bar underneath represent?
So I would probably,
But, okay, so, but if it's 11, yeah, 11, what's the 11?
So basically, when the state comes and walk through the school and we do a site visit, they have these particular indicators that they are measuring our school. And there's a rubric for each of those areas that you see identified. What they do is they take a stock take of that general area and correlate it to their rubric. And so that that 11 identifies the number of lesson plans that were proficient or above.
Okay, and so we don't even know how many, oh, it says percentage, so.
Right.
11% of all the lessons. So these right here, I mean, like you see standards-based instruction, and not to bring down the conversation, I've loved hearing from principals, but I guess the 0% we're at that. I mean, do we know how many they observed and what this represents on the whole?
Right, so that is a snapshot. I do not know the exact number. In this particular case, it could have been just those things that were related to what the actual targeted designation is. If they were looking at things related to students with disabilities or English language learners, et cetera, it is correlated to that. So, but I do not know the actual number that was in the denominator to determine the percentage that were gained there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I guess the reason I was most concerned about this particularly is because, number one, I didn't understand what was happening. And then number two, I guess when I see all the interventions, while I love all the supports, and I know that we don't even have control over some of them, the state comes in and says, this is what we're gonna do to offer interventions and et cetera. But it feels like we have a lot of tiers and a lot of layers, and that maybe, while I am someone who likes accountability and focus on doing the things that we say we're gonna do, I hope that we're not over-focusing on doing the things and checking the box rather than seeing where we have wins, since we are differentiating now so well.
So one of the things that we agreed to at the end of last year, when the state comes to do their walks, we agreed that they will coordinate with our team and that we visit schools collectively and look at things through the same lens so that the principal is not hearing different messages from different entities, but how those two things work together. And so the state leaders have been very, very open to doing that. And we actually are borrowing from one another about how to best support the schools. In our monthly meetings, quite naturally, they do have to reference the things that they are held accountable to, which are these areas. And many of the things that we are doing, there is a parallel approach, and there is some cross-pollination. So even though terminology may be a little different, but the actual actions are still the same.
Awesome. That's very smart to do it together as to not confuse people that actually live here and that we see every day what's happening, what's working, and then what's, maybe could use improvement in some of these examples. If we know at certain schools that standards-based instruction is lacking, then we really focus on that. So I think that is awesome, and that is very encouraging to hear. So thank you for addressing it.
And just one additional clarification. I know Dr. Howard Hall, you inquired earlier about the funding allocation for our identified schools. And so just wanted to provide just some updates around that. So for our CSI Tier 4 schools, those schools are allocated $150,000. Our CSI schools, $75,000. Our TSI schools are awarded or allocated $50,000. And our ATSI schools are $75,000.
Ms. Grabowski?
Sorry, I appreciate that Ms. Campbell asked that question, because, anyways, thank you. I understand that you don't have that data in front of you right now, Dr. Barnes, about what those numbers mean. Does the state provide us the information that's back behind that? Okay, well, I know that in the past, I know we get reports and there's no information behind the number, so we can't do anything about it, but I just wanted to confirm. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Morning, thank you. I'm pleased to present our third quarter change order report. This is for July through September. Change orders that have been previously approved through the process. In accordance with board policy, you have already seen the change orders over $50,000, and they have been approved through board action. These are the other ones that have been approved through, again, the process and procedure of change order approvals. I'd like to note that the change orders are classified by the type of change order that they are. And this period, we're really pleased to see that there are no change orders that are classified as errors. We've been working really, really hard to not only, number one, to reduce the number of change orders, but certainly to try to eliminate those change orders that are errors and omissions, and certainly this report is showing that, so we're pleased to note that. I will not go through the report in detail, but certainly will answer any questions that there may be on any change order.
Dr. Howard Hall.
Yes, I have a question regarding Groves Terracon Consultants, and there's a change order for additional budget for construction testing. Could you kind of explain what type of construction testing? Is this in the past, or is it something ongoing?
No, that is work that was done when they were doing the athletic fields. We set up a budget for testing, and then the vendor bills actual quantities, costs that are occurred against that particular budget. So in this case, the budget, so we had a 3-4 year project, and that budget was extinguished, and so we had to add additional dollars so that he had dollars to finish up on his testing.
Anyone else? Going once. Go ahead, Ms. Campbell.
Okay, well, just really quick. So when it says owner directive, you just clarified something for me about, it doesn't say errors on this one, and that's really good news as I learn to read these, right, being newer to the board. Owner directive, does that typically reflect like a scope change from the district, or is it more of a compliance issue that?
It's a scope change,
Okay.
exactly. It wasn't included in the contract at all, and as you go through the project, you do have scope changes that result in the use of change orders.
Okay, so I guess one thing, when it comes to West Chatham, when we don't have, we need to vote on attendance boundary changes, et cetera, and I totally understand all that, but I do, all of these changes, I know some of them are probably beyond our control, maybe some we could have prevented by, having a different plan at the beginning, I don't know. Nor am I imputing motive or responsibility to anyone, but I do, I want to make sure that we have fully actualized plans for West Chatham and Bloomingdale specifically before we get to this step in the game where we're not looking like we're spending tons and tons of extra money after the fact. So how often do the owner directive changes happen, like where it's so significant, like Garrison K-8?
Which number was that one?
Number 3.
It's 2 and 3.
Oh, yeah, actually 2 was even.
And in those particular cases, that was a complete change, new scope of work. What we did was use the annual contract. And so that's why it became a change order under the annual contract. That contractor had been previously approved by the annual contractor, but it was work that was added to his scope.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Else? All right. Now, I will accept.
I move that we go into executive session for discussions of safety, personnel, real estate, and other legal matters.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.